Hello, welcome to Praxxus Projects. Today we're going to be planting our seeds for the spring. I'm way behind. It's January 18th, I believe, right now. And normally here in California, we try to get at least some of us, try and get our seeds planted early January, but I've been really sick with bronchitis. Still trying to recover from that, but I need to get this done. So, peppers, tomatoes, onions, and then, as a bonus, this is going to be a two-part series. I'm going to be planting some seeds from strawberries, right from a little tomatillo that's been sitting on my counter just waiting for this opportunity. And let's see, there was something else that I have, but I guess that's going to be a surprise. So stay tuned. What I'm going to be planting my plants in are these little cell packs I got on Amazon, and they're really nice. I'll show you a clean one. I think I got 10 of these, and it was like $10. So each set comes with a tray, a 9-pack or 12-pack liner. And these ones are rather small. I prefer a little bit larger of a cell, but that's what it is. And you get a top. So it's a little incubation tray is what it is. So I'm going to be starting most of the seeds that way. Normally, I like to start in these little cups. These are much smaller than the Dixie cup or solo cups that most people use. But that would be for a larger plant. I like to start tomatoes and peppers in a small container and then up-pot them as they grow, especially the tomatoes, because that way I can plant them. I only put like half of this full of soil and plant it rather deep. And that way the roots are always going to be way at the bottom of the pot, and the deeper you can get your roots, the better it's going to do in ground, because that way when you do put it into the garden, the base of the roots are really deep, and you just keep piling the soil up around the stem. But we'll get to that in other videos. Let me show you how I fill my trays. And I've got starting mix here with, I put several handfuls of worm castings into it. There might be a little core in here too. I don't remember what I did exactly, because I just keep some mix ready to go in here. And I'm going to just level it all out like so. And I'm going to gently pack it down. I'm not pressing hard, I'm just firming it down, because once you put water, everything's going to sink down anyway. So by doing that, I'll keep as much soil in there as possible for my little seedlings. And then fill it back up to the top again. And that's all I do to prepare the cells. Now let's get planting. With my peppers, I'm going to be using one of these. It's a little bit bigger than I prefer, but that's what I have on hand, because I like to reuse the ones I get from garden stores. Like, I have been buying strawberries and such like that in these. And what I like to do, because it has that great big old slot in the bottom there, and the soil gets everywhere, so what I do is I will cut a paper towel cover that slit, and over time the paper towel will decompose and just become part of your soil. But during that time, the soil will also, you'll get the roots holding the soil together, and two more. And then it won't be falling out the holes like that. Let's just cut this one. This one was one I cut from an earlier planting. Voila, done. And I go ahead and fill it the same. I just put the soil in, pack it down a little bit, top it off, and I'll get that done real quick, and I'll be right back. I did 2 of these. However, as I was filling the first one, I realized I don't have any more of the starting mix. That was all I had, was enough to fill one of these and then just a couple of cells. So I went ahead and emptied it back out, and I put potting mix in these. About 2/3, maybe even 3/4 is potting mix, and then the top is the seed starter, because the seed starting mix is a much finer grain, so the seedlings can come through the soil easier without having sticks and rocks and other large particles like that in there. So let's get started. We're going to start with the Kelsey onions. And I only got 20 of the seeds in the seed swap, but it's Kelsey onions. The seed is expensive and sometimes very hard to find. They can become giant onions. Some of the award-winning onions and things like that are these Kelseys. Me, I grow rather small onions, so for me, if I grow a Kelsey, maybe I'll get a normal size onion. So let's see how I do with this. If I can grow some decent onions, I am going to try to let one go to seed, and then that way I'll have enough for me to plant next year, my sister, and then probably share some, as I've done before in the past. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 in each hole until I get to the end, and then it'll just be 1 in each. There's a little fertilizer ball. I don't know if I want that sitting right there on top. The starting mix has fertilizer mixed in. It looks like tiny little BBs. See, I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, this is a little stir stick from Starbucks, and when I saw that in one of the kids' drinks when I was at my daughter's house, the little end of it is perfect for making the little holes. So I'm just going to put these about 1/4 inch down. So I'm going to put little holes in 17, 18, 19, and 20. That works. Okay. And drop 1 seed in each hole. I can't afford to drop more than 1, so yeah, that's 1. Make sure that gets all the way down in the hole. Precious seeds. Okay, 1, 2. And I'm just going to continue to put 1 seed in each hole, and then when I'm done, I'm just going to lightly cover it over. This one has a big chunk right there. Okay, busted that up. Just lightly cover it over, and then we'll water it in together. Did I put seeds in that one? I need to be more organized. Okay, so I'm going to go off camera and finish this up. So I think we're done. Because not all my peppers and tomatoes germinated, I have a second chance on showing you how I plant my pepper and tomato seeds. And just now I've changed my mind on how I'm doing the tomato seeds, so it's a good opportunity for me to tell you why. Okay, this is one of those cell packs that has the little dome that goes over the top. And what I've done is I did the same thing. I leveled the soil, I packed it down a little bit, I put my different seeds, I put my labels, and here's why I'm doing it in a separate container. These plants here, I had an accident, and there's going to be a video on that, I think. But this is the replanting of my tomatoes, and you see how tall they are? They're already getting their true leaves in, and that's what these are. The first leaves you see are these little seed leaves. And my plants are getting a little leggy. I don't usually start them in these types of packs because I like to be able to put the soil further and further up the stem as they grow. But here, these two didn't pop up. This one's a boxcar willy. And over here, I've replanted the boxcar willy 3 days ago into a cup because I realized it's just not coming up. And this black cherry tomato, I'm going to be doing the same thing with that. And, oh, the reason I'm not putting them into this cell pack is because these are so mature already. These are never going to catch up. Also, the black cherry tomato grows at a very slow rate. Let me grab one. This one's the black cherry, and you see how tiny that is in comparison. It has its true leaves, but it's going to take a little bit longer for it to be ready to go in the garden, I think. And let's see, these were planted all on the same day. So I'm going to be planting the tomatoes in their own cups as well. Unfortunately, I don't have any more of those tiny ones, but I just don't want to have these two little tiny plants in there while I have to take these bigger plants out, and then the possibility of damaging the smaller ones that aren't ready. I'll put that away later. So here I've put in different types of pepper seeds, banana peppers, poblano, 2 jalapenos, and then I have some Roma tomatoes I put here. But I don't really want Roma tomatoes there. And I really don't need 3 plants. I really don't need 3 plants. I just need 2. So I'm going to go ahead and fill these cups, but I'm only going to put a couple inches of soil in. Like you see with other tomato plants that I do, I leave the soil low. This one's a little higher than I would normally put. But that way, once the seed germinates and it starts to get a little bit taller, like these, once these true leaves come in all the way, I would put the soil further up the stem so it can grow more roots. So let me go ahead and get that soil put in there. Ta-da, done. Okay, so I'm going to pack it down a little bit, and this is the regular potting soil with the cocoa coir and some worm castings in it. So I just put a little bit like that. I'm going to carefully remove these seeds. Drop it right in the middle. And don't know what I'm going to... I guess maybe I could just leave this one up here. No. I'll decide what to do with that one later. Anyway. Okay, so I've got the seeds put in there. And I'm going to put little flower seeds over here just to fill this up. I'm running out of room under my light, so using this saves a lot of space. I can get a lot of plants in a small space. And this one already says what it is, so I'm just going to go ahead and put that tag in there. Here I've got some of the starting mix. It was used in another plant. It was some lettuce that just didn't do well. And then I'm just going to put a little pinch on each one. That's a big pinch. And then tamp that down. And that's it. There's all my peppers. That should give at least a 1/4 inch of soil over the top. You don't need a lot of soil on top. And then same with the tomatoes. You can put up to 1/2 inch on top of these, but there's no reason to put that much on top. It just gives them more that they have to fight through in the beginning. Okay. And that is how I do my tomatoes and peppers. And the tomatoes, like I said, I leave it really low. Once the tomato germinates, then it'll grow about halfway up the cup with the seed leaves before it begins to develop its true leaves. And by then, it's almost to the top of the cup, or depending on how good your light is, it could be further than the top. And then the seed leaves are going to be way up here, so you can fill all that space with soil And then when the plant gets a little bit bigger, pinch off the seed leaves and fill the cup all the way to the top so you have all this root space. But it begins at the bottom. So the base of your plant is actually going to be right at the bottom of the cup. And then you plant that deep and you got a really strong plant. Okay, once you get it all planted out, this one still needs its flower seeds, but I'm going to do it anyway. My soil was already moist when I put the seeds in, but you still need to water them in to give them good contact with the soil and to make sure that they get a good start. And this is one of those trays with the lid, or with the dome. So after you've watered it all in, and I'm going to go ahead and plant these in a little bit, then you cover it up, and this one will be good. You don't need any more water in this for a long time. I may have it a little bit more moist than necessary, and if you feel like, oh, that's a little soggy, leave the dome off. Keep this on the heating pad for a while, but just check the surface of the soil, and if the surface feels a little bit dry, then you take your squirt bottle with your little holes in the top and you just spray the surface. That's how you do that. And with this, same thing. You could put the cellophane on top, which I might do with these just to make sure that they germinate quickly. I'm just going to give them just a real light watering. Cover them over with the cellophane, put them on the heating mat, and then check them every couple days for moisture. I mentioned that I use a heating pad to germinate my peppers and my tomatoes. Now, the type of heating pad does matter. All heating pads that are newer are going to have that safety feature that shuts it off after like 4 hours. What you want is one with the little switch that goes click, 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 click. You know, you got your low, medium, high. I usually keep it on low because that raises the temperature enough, because you want them to be about 75 to 80 degrees in the soil in order to germinate properly. You also want to make sure you keep them moist, not soggy, but moist. What you can do is, I looked, but I can't pay like $7 for the cover to go over one of those, I don't know if you can see it, those big black trays that you put your plants on. Germination tray, I think is what it's called. And I do put these on there usually. But right now, I'm just going to keep them straight on the heating pad with the fabric cover off, put it on low, and keep it that way until they germinate. And I'll keep it on there until at least 2 or 3 of these germinate before taking it off. You don't want to keep it on there much longer than that because you don't want your roots to fry and dry out. So hopefully they all germinate about the same time because I've got 3 different varieties in here. So let's hope. Okay, so we did some onions, we did peppers, and we did a tomato. So I think we're done. Thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. If you haven't yet subscribed, go ahead and do that now. And then on the next update, we'll be planting food from food. I have strawberry seeds that I picked off of a strawberry. I used some tweezers, the medical kind with the little teeth on them and a real fine tip. And let me grab one right here. Everything's right in reach, isn't it? Isn't that great? I love how this garden room is working for me. Here's a strawberry that was in my garden that a snail had gotten a hold of a little bit on the tip, so I just let it sit out there. And what you want is it to do this. Dry out a little bit, and see how the seeds are raised up a little bit? Sometimes you can just rub them right out, but I take my tweezer and I just grab onto the seeds. I like them a little more shriveled than this. And then I wipe them onto my paper towel. The other thing, I've got this little tomatillo. This was one of the last tomatillos from my plant that I harvested this late fall. And it's been sitting on my counter because I wanted to get the seeds from it. The tomatillo that I got seeds from in last year's seed swap, my plant grew huge. It had flowers everywhere. It grew no fruit at all. So I thought, because you're supposed to have a second one to cross-germinate or cross-pollinate, I bought a plant from the store, and that one fruited. The other one never fruited. So I kept this one in the hopes of saving the seeds, and I never got around to cutting it open. So we're going to cut this open and plant the seeds straight from this into soil and see how that does. The third thing, which I had forgotten earlier, like I said, it is January 18th, before Christmas. I think it was like 10 days before Christmas. My brother had a gathering at his house, and there were these really good raspberries. Here's one all shriveled up. And here's another. What you do, you don't have to let them shrivel up like this. I'm sure you could use it straight from the fresh fruit. But each of those little cells has a seed in it. So I'm just going to pick these apart and get some seeds out and plant them. See, the seeds are, you can separate them out. That's 2 of them right there. And then, you know, I'm going to try and space them out and see if I can grow these. These were really, they were big before I let them shrivel up, but really sweet, not real tart, but really yummy raspberries. I know I don't have much space for raspberries, so if I grow more than 1 bush, I'm not sure what to do with them. But if I can get 2 of them growing, I think I can put them somewhere. I'm sure I can find a space because they were really good. I just hope they're thornless. That'd be even better. So, anyway, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate that. And the next video will be planting seeds from fresh foods. I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.